In 1612, Pretorius published a manuscript called Terpsichore, containing 312 French-style dances, and this is a massive manuscript. These take the form of quintets and quartets, probably for violins. Now, Pretorius is a pivotal figure for the beginnings of Baroque music in Germany, and yet in 17th century studies, he hardly figures. And this is a mystery, and when you delve slightly deeper into his biography, you find there are gaps. We don't know much about his early studies. There are questions about his personality, what powered his massive output, his failing health towards the end of his life, and his oft-repeated regrets at not becoming a pastor. In 1589, aged 18, Michael Pretorius left Frankfurt. And this is where we're unsure of where he went or what he did. We do know that by 1596 he was organist to the Duke Heinrich Julius. But what did he do in the intervening years? And how did the Schlüssel fiddle come to be in the Syntagma Musicum? How did Terpsichore get to be so massive? Are they linked? I'd like to start at the end of his life with a quote from the sermon at his funeral. He often experienced great and difficult vexations, which he many times lamented and bemoaned, saying that these came upon him and he deserved them because he lived an evil youth. Hence, he had brought himself the great shortcomings and infirmities. The road from Frankfurt going north was long and dusty, and Pretorius was tired and thirsty and trying to get to the next village before nightfall. He could see the village in the distance with its welcoming lights, and he hoped that there was space at the inn for him. He'd been daydreaming as he walked, and a sudden cough woke him from his reverie. "Good evening, sir," Pretorius said to a shadowy figure standing just in front of him. "And a good evening to you too," the figure replied. "I hear you're a musician, an organist by trade. How would you like to put together a manuscript of dances that will be the wonder of the world, that 400 years from now will be played on every single instrument you can think of, and even some you can't?" "Why, yes," exclaimed Pretorius. "I would truly love that." "Then join me at the coaching inn in the next village. I hear they serve excellent ale and have clean and warm beds to sleep in." And so it was that night Pretorius sat by a roaring fire, quaffing ale and discussing music into the early hours of the morning. As the sun began to think about rising, Pretorius started to make his excuse to go to bed when the stranger said, "Wait a little while longer. I have a musical instrument here for you, and I'd like to teach you a tune." The stranger handed over a small violin-like instrument, but it only had 3 strings, and instead of changing the notes with the fingers directly on the string, there were keys. The sound holes were oval in shape, and the shadow within them seemed to pull at your very soul. It certainly was a strange, clattery instrument. The next morning, Pretorius awoke from a deep slumber well after midday with a slight ache in his chest. Slowly, he went downstairs, and to his surprise, there sat the shadowy stranger still by the fire. He beckoned Pretorius over. "Come, join me. Let's play some more. That was fun last night. I have plenty of tunes for you, my friend." And again he handed over this strange keyed fiddle, and again they played. Night after night, Pretorius and this stranger stayed up playing music. They became a legend in this coaching inn, and people would come from far and wide to dance to these two musicians. The villagers began to say that these two must have been sent by the Greek goddess Terpsichore herself, so delightful was the playing. I can't tell you how many nights they played for, but in this time, Pretorius had amassed a great volume of 312 dances. Each morning, however, he did seem to wake with a dull ache in his chest, and he was sure he wasn't imagining it, but the keyed fiddle he was playing on, hadn't the sound holes been oval, whereas now they seemed to be more heart-shaped. Even thinking about it seemed to make his chest ache all the more, and he had a yearning to go and play some more tunes. But this morning was different. The stranger had gone, leaving only the Schlüssel fiddle beside the fireplace. The sound holes were definitely heart-shaped, with a slight red glow. Pretorius blinked and stared at the instrument, but a sharp downdraft of wind from the fireplace enveloped it in smoke, and once it had cleared, the instrument had vanished. As if waking from a reverie, Pretorius gathered up his things, wondering what had kept him here in this little village for so long, and continued on his journey north. Now, we can't be sure who this stranger was, but if he was who we think he was, then that would explain the missing years in Pretorius's life, why Terpsichore is so large, why the Schlüssel fiddle has heart's eyes, and maybe why Pretorius's health finally failed him at the end of his years. It was the devil finally taking his heart.